Okay, so for this one, we're heading to a small, sun-drenched town on the coast of Spain, and we're going to dive into a truly chilling urban legend. It's a story all about beauty, a terrible betrayal, and a ghost who, well, never stopped waiting. I mean, seriously, look at this place. When you see a town that's this picturesque, horror is probably the last thing that comes to mind, right? But as we're about to find out, sometimes the most beautiful places are the ones hiding the darkest secrets. So, let's set the scene. Our story begins in a town with two completely different personalities. Salobreña, Spain. It's this gorgeous place clinging to a hillside, famous for its ancient church, its winding narrow streets, and these classic whitewashed houses overlooking the sea. It looks like the perfect vacation spot, but it's not exactly. See, by day, Salobreña is everything you'd hope for. It's bustling, it's beautiful, you can hear the church bells ringing. But as soon as that sun goes down, it's like a switch flips. The streets become completely empty, there's this weird, unnatural chill in the air, and this deep, heavy silence just takes over everything. And into this strange setting walks our guy, Mateo. He's a 19-year-old architecture student from Madrid. He's not a tourist. He's here to study the town's historic buildings. He's smart, he's curious, and he is totally, completely unaware that he's about to walk straight into the town's darkest legend. So Mateo's just trying to do his schoolwork, being curious. And that curiosity soon leads him a little off the beaten path and right into the heart of this whole mystery. His unsettling journey starts, as these kinds of stories often do, in a place where the dead are supposed to rest. While he's checking out the old church, he wanders into the cemetery right next to it, and that's where he spots it. Something just weird. It's a broken-down old wedding arch, just standing there near a grave, and it's still got the remains of these old, dried-out flowers hanging from it. It's just a strange, lonely thing to see. He doesn't know it yet, but that arch, it's the key to everything. And of course, that very same night, things start to get strange. He's in his guest house room, working, and he hears this faint sound, almost like the rustle of a dress. He glances out the window and sees this flash of white down the street. It's the silhouette of a woman in a long gown. He kind of blinks, figures it's just a tourist, but when he looks again, poof, she's gone. Then, the next night, the terror really ramps up. All of a sudden, this cold draft just fills his room, even though it's a warm night. He looks outside, and this is where his blood must have run cold. There's a trail of wet, muddy footprints on the dry cobblestones, and they're only leading in one direction, straight toward the old cemetery. Okay, so Mateo is officially freaked out now, and he needs answers. The next morning, he tracks down the old caretaker of the guest house and asks him about what's been going on, and he mentions that weird wedding arch. The caretaker's face just goes pale, and he starts to tell Mateo a story that the town has tried very hard to forget. The story goes all the way back to 1889. There was a young woman named Isabella Romero, and she was supposed to marry her beloved, Javier, right under that very arch. But on their wedding night, Javier was a no-show. Turns out he'd run off with another woman. Isabella, completely heartbroken, refused to leave. She just waited all night long under that arch for him. By dawn, they found her dead. The townspeople always said she died of a broken heart. The caretaker tells him that Isabella's spirit never really left. She haunts that cemetery, this ghostly figure in a white wedding gown, forever waiting under that broken arch for the groom who betrayed her. The locals have a name for her. They call her the Dead Bride. And right then, you can just imagine everything clicking into place for Mateo with this horrifying clarity. The silhouette, the rustling dress, the footprints, that wasn't a living person he saw. He had seen the dead bride. So now Mateo is absolutely terrified. But he figures, okay, you know what? I'll just stay away from the spooky cemetery and I'll be safe. Yeah, that was a tragic mistake. Because the haunting wasn't staying in the graveyard anymore. It was coming for him. That night, he hears the footsteps again. Only this time, they don't stay down the street. They come right up to his room and stop. He sees a shadow fall in the gap under his door. And then he just has to watch, totally frozen in terror, as the doorknob slowly, deliberately begins to turn. The door creaks open, but there's no one there. Just a silent, empty hallway. Completely desperate, Mateo runs to the local priest, who asks him one single critical question. Did you take anything from the cemetery? And Mateo suddenly remembers.
He'd absent-mindedly picked up a few of those dried flowers from the arch, just as a little souvenir. Well, the priest's theory is just terrifying. By taking those flowers, Matteo basically sent a signal to Isabella's spirit that her long, long wait was finally over. She thinks he is her groom.
And the priest does not mince words. This isn't some random haunting anymore. The spirit has chosen him. There's no prayer, no ritual that's going to help. His only chance is to flee Celebrania. He has to leave today, or Isabella's ghost is going to claim him forever. So Matteo is in a full-blown panic. He rushes back to the guest house, the priest's warning just echoing in his head. He's got to pack his bags and get out. But as he's about to find out, it is already way too late to run. He gets back to his room, heart pounding out of his chest, and he sees it right there on his doorstep, a fresh set of those muddy footprints, just like before. She isn't in the cemetery. She isn't waiting anymore. She's here. As he's frantically throwing his stuff into a bag, it's like the world outside is reacting. The sky just goes dark, unnaturally fast. The lights in his room start to flicker like crazy, throwing these jumping, twisted shadows all over the walls. And then, with one final pop, they go out. He's thrown into total, absolute darkness. The only sound is the frantic beating of his own heart. A storm breaks outside. A huge, brilliant flash of lightning lights up the room for just a split second. And in that flash, he sees her. She is standing right there, in the middle of his room. The dead bride, her face chalk white, her eyes just empty voids, and she is reaching for him. Matteo lets out this one single piercing scream. The caretaker hears it and comes running. He throws open the door to Matteo's room, and it's completely empty. The window is swinging wide open, the curtains just blowing in the wind. Matteo has vanished. They found him a few hours later. His body was lying there in the cold, wet mud of the cemetery, directly beneath the broken wedding arch. Isabella Romero, the dead bride, finally had her groom. You know, Matteo didn't go looking for the legend. It found him, all because of one simple, innocent act. It really leaves you with a pretty haunting question, doesn't it? If a story like this decides that you're its next chapter, is there any escape at all?